pizza from you today?
No.
You got the charity here. You got the charity here.
They count the numbers.
I've got a handy, yeah. I mean, if you need me to do it, I can do it.
Yeah, there's my representative. If we're going to be doing charity, we should be respecting.
Yeah.
Just have good.
Right, the live stream is active and I think we will begin with the karakia.
I hear what you're saying.
If everybody can join in with that.
We're extending.
Can you get it up?
All right.
Oh, thank you. And some good letters too.
Pātaka te hau, Ia Thank you. Welcome everybody this morning. Lovely to see you here. Begin the morning with Kerry Little, representing the Apara Resource Collective Trust. And she hasn't quite arrived yet, so that's fine. We will just juggle it around and we will go with number 2, which is Mike Norris, Bryce and Marie representing Bruce. Oh, yes, sorry. Representing JM Charitable Trust. Thank you. Come on up.
Thank you very much.
We have another couple.
Good morning, everyone.
Right.
My first time addressing this particular community board, so a pleasure. And thank you for making time available for a very brief submission. I was going to have you welcome my co-trustees, Marie Connolly, Dr. Marie Connolly, Peter Guthrie and Bruce Highland, but they've deserted me, so I'm on there. But can I ask the secretary, Marie was circulating some notes supporting our submission because we didn't get time from the quotations received to turn it into a PowerPoint. So I've got one copy here, but can you tell me whether you've received anything from Marie?
I have, and I can bring it up. No, it's not.
If not, I mean, that can be done after the meeting. We'll make sure you are in possession of it.
I think you work on that as you begin, maybe.
Okay.
That'll be the best way to do it.
Right. Well, similar to many people sitting in front of you, we're in search of funding. And I'm chair of the Jim Marin Charitable Trust, which is a 23-year-old trust that was formed by the late Jim Marin and his wife Maxine after they established the cinema complex here next to the library, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. In recent years, the cinema was going backwards financially under different. Yeah. Was going backwards financially with management of one person who was overstretched, and the cinema itself was in danger of failing completely and going out of business. So with a little help from one or two other community people, we managed to invest a little bit of money to keep it going. And I'm delighted to say, and I'm sure all of those of you who are familiar with the cinema's operation, it's got a very enthusiastic team of Mark Bamber and his wife, Bridget Reynolds. And they are managing to make a success of what is definitely a sunset industry, running cinemas. But they do have a thriving food and beverage element as well. And of course, anyone visiting the library has to go right past the cafe there, which sells a variety of home-cooked foods. So I think they're doing a wonderful job, and it's not easy when you charge $15 a ticket for admission, and you've got to make your money out of that. It's critical that they get decent throughput. And so they've worked out that they've only got 53 seats in the cinema itself, and they've only got capacity in their cafe area for 30. Here comes Mr. Highland. Welcome. Come and sit down beside me. He's a retired corporate advisor, very skilled financially, and I welcome having him on our trust. So I think the capacity constraints are that they can only hold a function for up to 30 people. And they like doing this. They like having a get together with a meal and then a selection of 1 or 2 movies. So if they wanted to host the Lions, for example, they don't have enough space. So what they've asked the board, that's the trust, and there's only 4 of us to consider, is supporting a new project of extending the covered area, which currently is just an open courtyard. First thing you see as you go into the cinema. And so they've had some costings prepared. And the long and short of it is that the proposal, which has been based on 3 different quotes, but we've gone for the most economic one, is to build a covered area of glass and aluminium, which would enable at least another 30 or more people to be, it's probably 50 in fact, could be housed for a single function. And the budget at the moment is sitting at about 120,000. Now, as a trust, we're not well endowed anymore. We've reduced the rent that the tenant pays to us, because we're the middleman, if you like, between the school board, the Ministry of Education, and the tenant operating the cinema. So we rely on them to pay us a rent, which we've reduced substantially, because they have to pay the rates and they have to pay the insurance on the building. So they've got some quite high overheads. So we don't have any money in our kitty to finance such a project. Although we own the building, we don't own the land underneath it. So we don't have a collateral opportunity to use the building as something upon which to obtain a loan. So we need outside funding. And so Marie's prepared this document, which we will also send to Rākaihautū Foundation in the hope for some support. So we actually need 30% of the figure of 120,000. I think that's the right figure. So I think I'll just check that, because she didn't do it. She did calculate it quite accurately. Now the option 1 was 114,994, including GST. So the community funding 1/3 needs to be 33,331. I'm not sure of the mathematics there, it doesn't look right to me. A third of, anyway, be that as it may. We know there exists a Banks Peninsula discretionary fund controlled by the council. And of course, we're very well aware that we're living in austere times where the council say they've got no money. But on the other hand, every year we gaily pay our rates, so it goes into the general fund, and the rates need to be allocated, and we don't think it's unreasonable to ask for this sort of support. And as for it being a community asset, which I'm sure is one of the criteria that you look at, I think it's very much a community asset. Very small villages like Akaroa, with only 600 resident population, have their own cinema theatre. In fact, two, a 16-seater or 17-seater and a 26-seater. So we think it's really critical to keep this going. We know what it's like when it was in danger, because it, as I said, nearly failed 4 or 5 years ago. And I think it would be a great loss to the community if it were not to proceed. And this is one more way we can help the cinema keep itself going. Excuse me. Is that fairly clear? Any questions?
Yeah, or I always have a question, Mike. The relationship with the, I don't know if you all been there, but
Yep.
the relationship you have with the library, is that building a council asset, or is that school?
No.
Is that what?
The complex has got shared common parts, which are the loos and the corridor, the foyer. Ministry of Education owns the entire freehold.
Okay, that's
And
including
it
the
owns the
library.
freehold of the library.
Thanks.
And the Ministry of Education has removed the school as the operator of the library, so the City Council now leases the library complex directly from the Ministry of Education. The cinema, on the other hand, the building was erected by Jim and Maxine and cost them over $1 million on land that the school still, well, not the school, the Ministry of Education owns. So it's a bit of an anomaly, and then we share the common parts of the two loos and the foyer.
Okay. So how much money are you looking for from the discretionary fund?
Well, Marie's calculated 33,000.
33,000. Thank you.
No more questions?
No, well, I have I have something to say, but also some questions as well. I think it's a wonderful place being there with my kids and a wonderful asset to have for sure. Our entire discretionary fund is $50,000. So that will be interesting to see what we can do for you with that. I just got two questions. So who would use it in the future, this addition? How is that presumed to be used in the future?
Well, I don't think the demographics are very specific, because as long as you've got something that's large, and in the winter, when of course they like to try and maximize their occupation, it could be school groups, it could be, as I said, Lions Club, any community group for season interest in combining a movie with a dinner or a function like that.
Right, awesome. And so what about the numbers? Do you know the numbers that go through the cinema at the moment?
Well, they fluctuate wildly. I knew what they used to be, and funnily enough, you might think the busiest time would be in winter, but it wasn't. When with the previous management, January, February were the busiest months, holiday time.
Yeah.
So I don't actually have the throughput figures, but we can certainly obtain them for you if it would help.
Yes, any information like that for discretionary fund applications. Just all that information gives us so much more, so we can make very clear decisions around it and get advice from staff about stuff as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Any final questions from members? No? Fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming and presenting that.
Well, I think it's important, and if we can get some funding, it might make a big difference for that part of town.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for taking your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Really appreciate it. Hey, have we got Kiri here now? No? Okay. Move on to Holly and her team will speak to the board about the need for tar seal on Green Valley Road.
Thank you.
Come on.
All right, don't have to talk so quickly now that Karen hasn't turned up. Thank you for squeezing us in. So our plea is very straightforward really, and we've bullet pointed it on the PowerPoint. Sorry, that's disappeared for some reason.
Anyway, just a minute. Thank you. I think it's there, isn't it?
Okay, great. Okay, so we live up Greenland Valley, and why we feel it should be a sealed road. Disappeared again. Okay, so there are an increasing number of residents. There's a new subdivision up the top, so we have more traffic going up the top. So a noticeable increase in traffic. Walkers get absolutely showered in dust. So it's a multi-use road for walkers and vehicles. The road is part of very popular walking tracks which go up that valley. All right, we have numerous cases of near misses and accidents. The road is narrow, steep and windy. People are least used to driving on gravel these days. The road is a dust hazard for residents living near the road. At extreme weather events, the road washes out and there is a risk of the residents being cut off. The road requires a lot of maintenance and repairs which are often neglected. There are still deep ruts from the rain event in July. The road has regular council vehicles to the water intake. The road has numerous accommodation providers, which also increase the traffic up there as well. This was Labour Day last week, which really prompted us to make a move on it. It's not the first accident. Do you want to say anything about that, Art? It was...
Well, it's also it's actually waiting to happen, but actually do happen. So,
and it's not the first time this has happened.
That was one of the local Chilean woman who used to driving on the
Victoria's
road in the morning.
Victoria's backyard it was, yeah, straddled the creek. Lucky she was okay, but this is certainly not the first time this has happened on that road. I think she just overcorrected, and the gravel's very slidey. Okay, so the next slide. Currently, the road is sealed at the bottom and sealed at the top, but there's about a 1 kilometre stretch that is gravel, so that needs to be sealed. It also needs to have a reduced speed limit of 40k, so also this reduces the risk to walkers. At the moment, the walkers try to get away from cars into the road verge of Unga and Blackberry, so there definitely needs to be an area for the walkers to walk up there.
It's actually really, at the moment, the legal speed limit, I think, is 100k an hour.
Yes,
Well,
it's
that's an
100k up
oversight.
there.
Sorry.
That's a definite oversight.
More.
Oversight, that is.
Yeah, it's an oversight for sure. This is, oh, sorry, it's all right. Hi, Karen. So this is a rut in the road, on the side of the road that's been there since July, since the water washout. So obviously when it rains, all the water heads down to the creek, and it's continuously being maintained, but being maintained like just ad hoc and poorly, just to fix up things like this that are happening regularly when we have big water events. So are there any questions?
Nigel and then Sarah.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot more houses showing up there, and it is a bit nervy driving up with this very wide. Do you think there should be some sort of work as well as part of the ceiling?
Should be widened.
And some blind spots.
It should definitely be widened if it's possible, like only if it's possible. Obviously, you've got your creek, you've got a very steep bank on one side, and you've got, you know, like private property on the other side. But I think it is probably possible to widen it slightly, because you've got a little bit of a verge where walkers, you know, do tend to duck in. If it was possible, it could be widened slightly. Yep, definitely.
That's I'm running back to Nigel.
Tara?
Hey, Holly. I've kind of got a bunch of sort of questions. So, if that's all right with you, Lynn. So, I mean, in addition to sealing, you're probably talking about curbing and channeling as well, right? Like it's not just
It would have to be.
It would have to be, right? Like
Yep,
it's the
it would
whole
have to
whole thing. Is it? I mean, I don't know the relative costs of getting things done, but if it's a safety issue, there's probably some need for barriers in addition or instead of, or I mean, the problem we're trying to solve is the safety thing, right? So so we're trying to, so if some barriers in some good places was the solution, is that a solution, or are you really gunning towards?
I hadn't thought about barriers. I think it's not entirely necessary, because you don't get, you know, people don't slide off because of the gravel. So it's not, you know, but obviously that's a cost question.
Yeah.
I think it's really, I don't know, we're not technical road people, but it's really important to recognize that it's a multiple use. It's vehicles and walkers, and that's a really important. Yeah, and there's walkers who, you know, you have to jump aside, and often there's Blackberry or and then there's cars that get out of control because all of a sudden they see somebody walking on the brakes and lose control. So I think that is the thing we try to highlight here. It's a dangerous situation, and
it's very narrow, isn't it?
As far as we know, nobody seriously injured, but you know, that could well happen, and especially with the increased use of the road.
And I've lived up that valley for 26 years, and Lily's lived up a lot longer, so we have definitely seen an increase in traffic, you know. There's a new Airbnb up the top, there's a subdivision, so there's a lot more traffic going up that road.
When did it get, do you recall when it got sealed at the top? Is that something that's happened?
About 40 years ago.
40?
It was to get the cream trucks down.
Rightio, okay, cool. Just a final, what's my final question now?
You go back to Nigel.
Yeah, you go back to Nigel, it'll come back to me.
I was just curious about the subdivision. I didn't know there was a subdivision up there. Is that up near sort of Ken?
Yeah, Ken subdivided
Two
up there.
subdivision section.
Okay, how many sections go in there?
There's an extra 2 sections up there.
Right.
Yeah, for the Airbnb as well up there. Yeah. So, and the question I thought you would ask me is, do we have support of the neighbours? And yes, we do. There's almost 100% support. There's one neighbour that's sitting on the fence, and you probably know who that is. But yeah, so
She's not sitting on the fence. She just says it's going to be very hard.
yeah. So otherwise, there is, you know, support from all the neighbours.
Okay, final question from Tyrone.
Thank you. So just in terms of like, I'm going to sort of say in terms of timeframes, like obviously you want it done sooner rather than later, but like if it could be something that could be got onto a long-term plan, like let's say in 5 years, I'm just pulling a number out of the year, is that acceptable, or is it, do you think the risk is so great now that it's got to be done kind of?
I would like to see it done urgently. I think that's why we're here today. You know, we saw that another accident happened last Monday, and it was really prompted us to actually really make a move on this. I think it would be disappointing if we had to wait that long. And I don't, you know, I feel responsible for the people that can't drive up there, and you know, like the accidents that potentially could happen. So I would like to see it done more urgently than that if possible. And also, Lynn, you noted that a lot of the other roads going up from Akaroa Township are sealed.
Yeah.
You know, that is probably the last one to be sealed.
Yeah, and it's not a hypothetical anymore. Obviously, it's a real issue, and that is something that we will take into account. But the process from here and how the community board can support you with this would be go to the LTP with this, and I think Liz said she can help you with criteria in regards to that.
One of the things I'd ask is these crashes that you're having, are they being reported to the council? Because we work a lot on data collection. So even if the person who's had the accident doesn't report it to someone from your road, can send it into council to say there's been a crash, and possibly a photo like that, because we do collect a lot of data to be able to say this, we can get this.
And so where do they go, Liz?
And to the contact centre, or do it through Snap
Centre, and then they get a number as well, so you always follow that through with that number.
And then it's kept into a database that when they start on prioritised roads, they can say.
No, they haven't been called it to council.
That would be good. Also, the residents in the street coordinate a submission to the upcoming LTP, February, March, I believe it's will be ready. And
then the community board support that.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Thank you.
Sorry, Lynn, just through you, if I can just ask Liz a quick question.
Sure.
So, I mean, because there's safety concerns that could probably be addressed by a traffic engineer in the short
that's
term.
correct. The traffic engineer will look at crash records.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you.
Does that sound
Great, thank you very much.
feasible?
Yeah, great,
A
thanks,
process
Lynn.
that you can go through? Lovely. Thank you for
fine.
coming
Thank
today.
you.
Yeah.
Hello, be discourteous. I hope if I were to introduce to you Dr. Marie Connolly, who's arrived at Nicey, she's clutching a lot of documents in her hand, which she's going to circulate to you.
Sure, yes. We're just aware of making time for Kerry still, but yes, if you do that quickly, it would be
sorry
lovely.
to be late, but I'm living in Christchurch at the moment, and traffic defeated me coming over this morning, but if I could just
Pass
hand
it around, please.
pass these out, would be terrific, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next time.
Okay, Kerry, Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Sorry, I was chasing my tail this morning.
So you're representing the Aqua Resource Collective Trust today?
I am representing Hapori Resource Trust. Yep, indeed, indeed. I sent through, oh, there it is. So just, it's not I won't be a long time ago. Hapori Skateboard Park. So I spoke to some of the young ones. They've come up because there's quite a lot of damage down there, cracks, and the place hasn't been looked after for a while. So I asked the young ones if they would like to come to council and make a presentation. They were very excited about that idea. So I'm doing that on their behalf. This mural actually, that was done locally. That's the second mural that we have done as a community that council sponsored, funded us for that one. That one's done by a local artist. So that's just and that graffiti, that doesn't get graffiti down there for some reason. And we've got a good mural down there. The kids don't tag it. Yep. Next one is Rākaihautū in Tamariki space. That is the skateboard park from a Google photo. And if you just flip to the next one, this here is Moses Spygate. No, it doesn't know. Actually, it was quite a good, it's a YouTube one, so I think it's one of our youngest boys. I thought this actually has a video clip.
When I clicked on it, it's not showing me.
Didn't come up? No. That's fine, that's fine. This was just a really good one to see one of our young local boys who, when the skateboard park was quite new, was really, really active. And he got a lot of sponsorship, promoting the skateboard park and promoting the stuff. He's actually the son of Rākaihautū, old principal. But that doesn't work, so let's move on. And okay, so these are that's just some of the cracks, and I think here you can't quite see, but the kids have actually started patching it themselves. So you know, that's like the boys are saying that that's an accident.
You can't skate over there. No.
And so yeah, and that's a whole other crack altogether, like right through here. They're all over the place. So it would be really, really good to see a little bit of attention paid to that, because it is actually quite dangerous. And the next issue, so yes, it's in disrepair, it's pretty scruffy. This jump here, the kids have made themselves, so they're quite creative. Look, you can see all the cracks right through the place. But that one there is just a wooden board that they've made themselves, because there's not quite enough there to keep them going. It's quite, it's a different kind of utilised space. Originally, when they put the half court in down at the sports recreation, the community asked that they might have put it on here with the skateboard park, because it would have given the young people that place to, you know, to be. So the half court was still down the other end, but it would have been quite cool to see it coming here. So yep, so you can see it's pretty scruffy. And the following photo are the lights that go all day long, and then at 6 o'clock they turn off.
Oh, really?
And they've been doing that for a long, long time, apparently. So there's two of them, and they're on all day.
Has that been logged? Do you know, Kerry, if someone?
Actually, no, it hasn't been, no, because I just found out about that. Just, what would you like me to tell council? Will you please tell them those lights? Yeah. So, if we could have, someone might have a wee look to see if we can resolve that.
Got AM and PM confused.
Yeah.
It'll be on a little computer somewhere, 6 AM, and I thought it was PM.
Oh, yeah, that must be what it is. Yeah. Hang on, 6 AM. And was there another one? This is my lovely, this here, this is the bike track. So you can't really see much, but it's pretty rough. I think it's where they were looking at doing a bike track. Lynn, do you know, are you on board with that one?
I think I've been doing that for a long time through the trust. Yeah.
So, and it's come up again, and when I posted this looking for some more feedback and information around it, Anita Osborne, a local police woman, working with, I think Fiona from council was going to meet Remy, was it Remy? So the BMX track area has always been a biggie, because there's not much to it.
Where is it?
It's alongside the stream between the skate park and Jubilee Park. At the back of the place there.
It's kind of like your garden area.
Oh, so it's hidden from the front. You can't see
it.
it.
So skateboard park is
as opposed to, so from here, the skateboard park is over here. Sort of tucked around.
That sort of goes through to Jubilee Park, yeah.
You know, it rains, it's just clay, it's you know, and at the end of the day, our young people don't have a lot in this community at all, do they? Really, we're an ageing population, and the kids that are using it are all working here, like those older boys, you know, 20 up, they're all, you know, they'll get down there if there's grass broken, they sweep it, and hose it, they're doing a lot to maintain it, and they work with Paddy on painting the, just adding a bit of colour to it, but it would be really, really great to see a wee team of people get on board and we start a wee project on that one. The other thing that we were having a wee chat around was an exercise station around by the rec ground as well. That's another whole area, but just around the sport and recreation area, it's good to see some people on that. And I think that was about it. I don't think was there another. I've got this lovely new French girl at Hartlands now, and she does upload all these things very, very clearly. But I think that was the last, was that the last one?
That was the last one. All right, any questions from elected members?
Pretty clear.
Thank you so much. I've got a question for staff actually. Like, wouldn't the resealing of the skate park be
a maintenance thing?
Yeah, like wouldn't that be done as a matter of course over a period of time? And
I think you should ask staff to give to provide you some information on the maintenance of the skate park and the bike track.
Yes,
could we?
Long as the future.
Through you.
Yes, they can ask for some information.
Very alluded, there haven't been any requests from him.
So that in conjunction.
We start there.
As many requests from different people with different, you know, those issues.
Okay.
To have that, or then they can start to follow that through, and then we will follow up on the maintenance side of it.
Yep. Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Well, it's incredibly well used. I mean, that's yeah.
And even, you know, and these guys are great in the fact that they store their own broom, they're putting it somewhere so they can clean it up. But the other thing that's lots of, not just the big boys, but they watch out for the little kids. So, you know, they're it's a really good, it's a very good asset for them, but it's a bit sad. It's a bit lame, all right? So it'll be cool to see that.
Just a last thought, it'd be really good to get the young people to get those CSRs through too.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
So that they know how it all works, and that's part of the teamwork of it all.
Yeah. And I'm more than happy to round up a team with those young ones and, you know, move forward if it's, you know, if it gets to that. But definitely
that will get the best movement in the right direction.
Teach them how to use Snaps and Solve.
Yeah, it's an app.
They'll love that. Well, that's right. They'll just use it.
Actually, I'll send them, and they can start sending photos through.
They can do that throughout the whole area, you know, if there's rubbish or anything, it's really good.
There's a lot of maintenance issues here. My pet one's a butcher shop.
Who's the butcher shop?
But it's not,
well, I'm going to let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jess.
See you soon.
show that we're video.
Okay, we're about to stop the live stream, so we'll